Ramsey Show. You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career. You are the hero in your story. Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. George Camel, Ramsey personality and host of the Fine Print podcast on Ramsey Networks, is my co-host today as we take your questions about your life and your money. This hour is devoted to the timeshare industry. My contention is timeshares suck. You should never buy one. It's a complete ripoff. If you sell them, you're ripping people off, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Most of you that run the businesses know that you're scummy, and most of you that make billions of dollars off of the American public screwing them ought to really be ashamed of yourself. Hope I wasn't unclear to kick it off, George.
That's a good contention. I'm going to go with your thesis on that one, that it is true. It is definitely
true. Ding, ding, ding. So George hosts the Fine Print, and the Fine Print podcast is all about
money traps, like we're talking about today. Timeshares is a great example of these. People are falling for this stuff across the board. And you know this, from car leases to student loan crisis. And timeshares is just one of these behemoths in the industry that have been around forever. And so I'm excited to go after this with you today.
Yeah, and we're going to have to devote a Fine Print podcast episode to 100%. This eventually.
There's so much to dig into.
It's not on the list yet, but beware, it's coming.
It sucks so bad, I don't even know where to start. That's the problem.
It might take more than one episode.
It's a series.
It's a series. We could just do a whole series of the double Fine Print.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So we had I had read a piece of research advertised by the timeshare industry that they had a 97% customer satisfaction, to which I called BS.
Wow.
Because anybody with walking around sense know that 97% of people do not love their timeshares. That's absolute horse crap. And so, of course, it's put out by the industry, which they kind of lie for a living, so it makes sense.
You got to look at who's actually
we're talking about
on.
Diamond and Marriott and Wyndham and Westgate, and these companies are just laughably horrible. And then there was a piece of research done by the University of Central Florida, which said 97% of people hate their timeshare, which that one I kind of believed. But then I got to thinking, I wonder what is real. And so I thought, let's just do, not me doing it, because my research would be biased.
100%.
Because I start with the hypothesis of you people are crooks. Okay? But I didn't start that. I just I got the Ramsey research team, which are very nerdy, highbrow, very concerned about truth and ethics, not Dave's exaggerations and drama. Okay, so they don't let me play in their space much, right? But I can give them direction to do a piece of research. And I said, hey, reach out to people that are inside the Ramsey tribe, people that know Ramsey, and people who've never heard of Ramsey. And let's do some research and do a good survey from the public on what they really think of their timeshares. And so, not surprising to anyone, 97% dislike or 97% like were both wrong.
Oh, okay. Where did we land?
It's still horrible, but buyer's remorse. Here it is. This is detailed, in-depth research, large sample size, took several weeks to pull it together. We actually spent some money on this, which is bothersome in a way, but we did. 57% of timeshare owners say that if they could go back, they would not buy a timeshare again. That's 6 out of 10. So let me translate that for you. If 57% of the Ford truck buyers said they would never buy a Ford truck again, 6 out of 10 of them, that kind of would say Ford trucks suck.
Yeah.
By the way, the research is actually quite the opposite for Ford trucks. Just as an example. Not an advertisement for Ford trucks, by the way. The research is quite the opposite for Chevy trucks. Chevy truck people love their Chevy truck. They'll go back again and again and again. Ford people love their Ford trucks. They'll go back again and again and again and again. And these statistics just go on.
Oh, yeah. And we were talking about here with how many people are happy about this. Like you're saying, 6 out of 10 people saying, I would not do this again, makes me go, I'm going to do my research, because apparently there's a lot of unhappy people there. And if you look at the next stat here, 51% say that I don't use my timeshare as much as I thought I would. So half of the people aren't even using the thing that they overpaid for.
There we go. Check. 1 in 3 timeshare owners agree that timeshares are not easy to use. If you currently own a timeshare, 1/3 of them say they're hard to use. If I have an app on my phone that is hard to use, do you know what I do with it?
Delete.
There you go.
Bad purchase.
Little shaky thing.
Bad download.
Right? Yeah, that thing, right?
Oh,
that
my
thing.
goodness.
Gone.
That's bad.
Just like that.
These stats just go on and on and on. 44% of former owners say they were satisfied with their timeshare experience. Satisfied. That's not saying they loved it, just they were satisfied. Man, a lot of regret here. That's the theme I'm getting, regret.
Here's the one you got to love, though. Only 48% of timeshare owners say these are current timeshare owners, not somebody that just didn't buy, walked out of the meeting because it was high pressure and scummy and all that. But 48% of timeshare owners say they have a great deal of trust in the company who holds their timeshare.
Wow.
Almost half of them trust their timeshare company. That's good. It's better than I would have thought. Honestly, the industry that's like saying, like they're in the same categories like payday lenders, right? And payday lenders, we pretty much all know are scum. They rip people off, charge 800% interest. And so, I don't think you could get 48% of them to say they have a great deal of trust in their payday lender.
No.
So that's pretty good for the timeshare guys.
And here's the thing. When you're looking at people who own timeshares, you're probably going to justify the decision a little bit in your head. Even as you're taking the survey, you're going to go, well, it wasn't that bad of a deal, because you're trying to emotionally, cope with the fact that you made a dumb decision.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these people are probably answering even with a little more positivity than they should be.
It does change when you go to Ramsey Tribe, though. 1%, yes, 1% of Ramsey timeshare owners say they have a great deal of trust in the timeshare industry. So that could be my fault.
Yeah.
Because if I get on here pretty regularly and yell that these people are scum, then people believe it, and they should believe it, because that way they won't go in the tiger cage. Because, the tiger cage is, in case you're new to this story, you're walking along the sidewalk and the director of the zoo runs up and says, I will give you a free 1-year pass to the zoo. All you have to do is go into the tiger cage and pet the tiger for an hour. However, remember that the tiger has not been fed in 3 weeks. And it's likely greedy, let's say.
Yeah.
And so if you can get out alive, then you get your 1-year pass to the zoo. Well, that's like saying you get a free vacation. You can stay in our place for free, but you have to spend 2 hours in the tiger cage petting the very hungry, greedy tiger.
Thank you. No, thank you.
And try to get out alive.
I've seen Tiger King. I know how this ends. Not playing that game.
Every episode. You saw every episode.
Yeah, binge watched it.
Me too.
100%.
I lost my common sense card. They have not returned it since I watched every episode of Tiger King. I blame COVID.
That's what it is.
I think COVID caused our minds to be warped.
A lot of bad decisions.
Who else? Why otherwise would we have watched Tiger King? We're lacking in judgment, George. This is the Ramsey Show.
Life is full of firsts. As the first and longest-serving Christian health cost-sharing ministry, CHM has shared medical expenses for its members since 1981. We believe you should have the freedom to focus on your health while being supported by a community of believers, giving you the opportunity to create many more firsts.
Ramsey Personality is my co-host today. He is the host of our Ramsey Network podcast, The Fine Print. just launched a couple of weeks ago and launched out at number 1 in the business section. Super positive. Dropping this week, How to Bulletproof Your Money for the Next Pandemic. That was released today. Earlier, How TurboTax is Screwing You and the True Cost of Credit Cards. This is a whole series of 8 different, or 10 episodes rather. We may be adding another one to the episode list when it comes to timeshares, which is what we're talking about today. George is with me to do that. We were noticing our research team, when they did the surveys, also noted that timeshares are an $11 billion industry, making it larger than Major League Baseball, which is $9 billion in revenue, larger than the entire music industry, which is $8 billion in revenue. And yet, 50 to 60% of their customers are, at a minimum, depending on which of these statistics we read and how we extrapolate them, are, shall we say, dissatisfied. If you are a timeshare customer currently and you want to tell us your story, good or bad, we're exposing both today. I'm willing to hear your good story, although I think they're kind of rare. But if you want to come in and talk about the good things about your timeshare, that's cool. God did that last time I did one of these hours. Regardless of which company it is, jump in. We want to hear the company. We want to hear what happened. What's your timeshare experience? The phone number's 888-825-5225, 888-825-5225. Louann is in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hey, Louann, tell us your timeshare story.
Hey, Dave. Hey, George. Good to talk with you. I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but my husband and I, it was back about 2013, 11 to 13 there, we were up in Branson, and we had taken a mini vacation for my birthday, and we ran out of money. And they were advertising as we walked along the sidewalk, for $100. They'll give you $100 if you'll go for this 90-minute visit at the Westgate up there.
Westgate for 9 minutes or 90 minutes?
90.
Okay.
90.
All right.
90.
So $1 a minute.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And, it's like, we're not going to buy one. We're not, we'll just go get the money and
we're broke.
Prize, whatever,
Yeah, we're
right,
broke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And granted, it's only 4 hours for us to drive, but gas was very low. And this was way before you, Dave.
Okay.
So
way before me.
You know.
Okay.
Right. We were
I feel better.
Then. We were stupid. Yeah. Way before. So we went and did the 90 minutes, ended up being about 5 hours. And, yeah, they roped us in because they start pulling heartstrings and talking about the grandkids and, what you can do as a family and you don't want to say no to this. This is a good deal. Well, we said yes, and it was about the reasoning they gave to us that we could get it for this really cheap price was because it was repo, basically. So, yeah, they had a
So you can repossess air?
Yeah, right?
Because there's no actual asset.
No. Well, and see, that was one of the lies, too. They told us that if we ever wanted to sell and get out of it, we could resell it for $100,000.
Wow. Oh, easy, yeah. Not.
So, right.
Not 100,000 seconds, yeah.
Our question was, after we were stupid, and we ended up going about 3 or 4 times to the one in Orlando, because once you go to one through them, you're stuck there. You cannot go to another one in their system, and you have to, we didn't have a certain week, but it was any week we wanted to go to, say, Park City, Utah, or go back to Branson. We couldn't go because everybody was locked into just that one. So, yeah. So, Orlando's not cheap. And so we ended up saving up what we could, and we went to the timeshare. Well, every time we showed up, there was something wrong with the timeshare. The air conditioner wouldn't work. they were, overcrowded in this section. You couldn't pick the section you wanted to be in, and so they had to put you in this section with the partiers and basically the ones that are stupid out there too, that are touring it while you're there, and you just want to yell at them.
Please don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap, So here we are spending the money on.
Would you like to be a salesman walking along with a client? You're trying to sell them this, and Louann runs up to them and drops down on her knees and goes, "Don't do it!" That would have been great. That would have been a great visual. That would have been awesome.
I would do it now.
That would have. What's the end of the story? Are you still in it, or did you get out?
Oh no! We quit paying for it for 2 years, and in the meantime, we had filed bankruptcy.
Okay.
And we quit paying for it for 2 years. And, my husband and I both, I was like, so what? I worry about things like that. I'm like, but we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. He said, let's just see. So he's very analytical and an IT guy. So we didn't pay for it for 2 years, and we didn't get any kind of notice. We just kept getting the same amount, all the time. Well, after that 2 years was up, we ended up, they did a negotiation with us, and they did a 1099-C and said they'd settle for this much, and we would have to pay on the taxes on the balance.
And
so
what
that's
did
how
you
we got out of it.
Why did you not bankrupt it?
Well, because we ended up not doing that. Well, I really don't know. My husband was the one that was doing
that's fine. I'm just curious because it was a debt you could have put in the bankruptcy. But all right, next question. And I really appreciate you taking your time to come on the air and tell this, because as you said, every time any of us do something dumb, we're a little bit ashamed that we did it. And I appreciate you having the courage to say, because my whole show's about all the dumb things I've done, and I don't want you guys to do them anymore. Okay, so I tell all my dirty laundry on here, but it's harder to tell yours, and I appreciate you doing that. So let me ask you this. I'm really curious, and I'm not trying to be smart aleck, okay? When you go in there and you say, I'm going to sit there for 90 minutes, that's 1 hour and a half. What advice would you give to someone that did that, and then the second hour and the third hour and the fourth hour roll around? Why did you stay in the room? Why did you not break the glass and run out into the street?
They kept leaving, so we could. It was like, I'm not rude or anything. You know what I'm saying?
So they were playing social games on you to keep you, make it weird for you to just walk out on them. You would have had to have been a jerk in your mind just to walk out on them.
Yes.
Even though they were being jerks and holding you on. So they use a social mechanism to hold you.
Right, exactly.
Interesting.
And so now I would say, no, don't even go.
Yeah,
don't even do the 90 minutes.
Don't go in the tiger cage. Yeah.
And like I said, it was before Dave, and so we're thinking to ourselves. They said, leave it to your grandkids. Who wants to leave their grandkids with debt?
Who wants to leave their grandkids with a curse?
Right.
I curse you, my child.
Exactly.
I leave you with Westgate.
Grandma.
I leave you with Westgate.
The funniest part is it went from $100 for 90 minutes to $100 for 5 hours. You could have done better delivering pizzas.
Right.
And you got called a terrible grandma.
And you got called a terrible grandma. You can call me a lot of stuff. Don't question my Papa Dave. Don't call me a terrible grandpa.
Poor Louann. They're preying on the nice people, Dave. That's what's happening here.
That's why I would have left. I'm not one of the nice people.
They're not going after you, Dave. They're going after the Louanns of the world.
I'm not one of the nice people. I have social boundaries. I would have said, I'm leaving, thank you.
I'm good.
Or something to that effect. Yeah. The tiger cage. Open the door. We're leaving. Oh, my goodness gracious. Timeshares. Let's hear your story. 888-825-5225. guy in the business calls them crime shares.
I love that.
That's pretty good.
It's clever.
You could call them air shares because it's a share of air. We're selling little blocks of air that don't really exist because you don't really get a title when you buy a timeshare. You don't really have any ownership in anything. And when you go to use it, that proves it because you can't get your share of the air that you bought. So it's air shares.
I like that.
And,
it sounds like something Apple would release.
And they could probably get away with it.
They could sell them.
But apparently a bunch of people have gotten away with it. So one of the folks we've been talking to in the industry is a real activist. He's an attorney named Christian Waugh. And what is happening is that several of the timeshare companies, an attorney gets a hold of a customer that has been screwed. They go to the timeshare company and says, you're going to release this customer because your presentation was fraudulent. You lied. And the timeshare industry lets them go. Exits them, is what it's called in the business, from the timeshare. And once that attorney does that 2 or 3 times, well, then the timeshare business gets pissed off and they sue that attorney. And a lot of these attorneys are small operators. They're, whatever town. And so a group of them have been sued out of business. The attorneys have been. These are attorneys that, they just overrun them with these billions of dollars of revenue that they have and just asking them to do this stuff and taking control of them. So Christian Waugh has put a bunch of them together and is countersuing on behalf of the attorneys that have gotten run out of business. So we wanted to talk to him once before on this subject. But is that a fair summary of what's going on, Christian?
Yeah, it's a pretty good summary, Dave. How are you doing today?
Great, man. How you doing?
I'm living the dream. Just had a newborn, and I'm not going to let her buy any timeshares.
A brand new baby. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That is awesome. I'm happy for you. Okay, So talk about this business. You've had a lot of interaction with their legal teams, with their leadership teams in deposition, and in everything else.
Yeah, I mean, they've got dozens of cases. They're against these exit companies. They're against the lawyers who work with the exit companies. You do appear on the radar if you start representing timeshare owners enough, and if you start having some success. And it's because some of these developers, they're adopting what they call this zero tolerance policy. And they kind of make up this idea that the lawyers are just frivolously telling everyone to stop paying on their financing, as if every timeshare owner is deliriously happy with their timeshare. Only when they meet this lawyer do they suddenly wake up and say, I've got a problem. When it's really the complete reverse. These people are desperately unhappy. They'll pay almost any amount of money to get out of these crazy, you called them crime shares. I mean, it's not a good product. And they're desperate to change the marketing on this. And in order to do that, they're trying to push these lawyers out of business.
Wow. And so how many of these attorneys have been hit so hard that they've come to you to represent them as a group?
Well, I currently represent, several. Two of the best ones are Scott Montgomery and Todd Newcomb in Missouri, and their law firm Montgomery and Newcomb. And I think you've talked to Scott before.
Yeah, we had him on the phone last time we did the hour. Yeah.
Listen, he's got a class action lawsuit against Blue Green right now, and it represents between 12 and 25,000 class members. What a great target for Blue Green to aim at, right? This guy who's had some success certifying a class with a legitimate complaint against this big developer.
25,000?
Up to 25,000. I think they're still figuring out the number. And that, but regardless, if the minimum is 12,000, think about that. I mean, so of course he's a target. And so that lawsuit's still going. The class action is still going. We have to see how it shakes out.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. So one of the things that you and I have talked about is that the Attorney General down in Arizona went after Diamond Resorts and hit them for, what was it, $800,000 or penalty?
Yeah.
And really, slapped them pretty hard for their misbehavior in the state of Arizona. Why aren't the attorneys general going after the timeshares? As a matter of fact, one guy up in Washington's actually going after the timeshare exit guys like he's, I don't know, like maybe the attorney general got a bunch of donations for his campaign from the timeshare people. Why would you support the timeshare people and go after the exit guys. But this Washington AG is doing that. He's going the opposite direction.
I can't vouch for the Washington AG on that or any number of things that the Washington AG is doing, but I can tell you, heck, I've got in front of me the Florida Attorney General went after Blue Green back in 2012 and actually as part of their little settlement, Blue Green had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, create a fund to help people who complained. So there's precedent for this even in Florida, where my main office is. And
that's like timeshare heaven.
It is. Well, think about that. I mean,
or
so
hell, whichever. I'm not sure which. Yeah.
Right. If it can be done here in Florida, where these timeshare companies are super powerful, it can be done anywhere.
Yeah, that's where the Queen of Versailles lives, right? Florida.
You got it.
Yeah, and David's wife. Did you see the movie?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's Westgate.
Oh my goodness, that was fascinating.
Yeah, David Siegel, right? Yeah.
Well, from a purely forget the legalities of it. We're obviously right on the law that consumers are getting, really harmed by these developers. But just from politics, it's a real wonder that the attorney generals aren't, figuring out that they can get votes this way.
Yeah, if you came out helping the consumer with the timeshare industry's misbehavior as an attorney general, that should be big political points. As opposed to, I'm going to support the timeshare industry and go after the exit companies.
These are everyday folks, right? I mean, these are not the upper class who are buying these timeshare interests. These are the massive voters. These are people with lower middle class incomes who work hard every day. And I think it would be a great political idea. But, of course, I'm not a politician.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. They don't prey on the rich.
No. We just talked to Louann in Little Rock. And she was broke, and they went after her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the least educated. It's the formally educated. I mean, forget, but, the least well-off that they prey on. And, I'm reminded, if this was done in the you'll have to pardon the comparison. Back in the 1950s, 1960s, they went after the NAACP in all these states to try and kick out the lawyers. Why? Because they were helping the people who needed it the most. Now, what about these consumers? It's a different, it's not about race, but it is about economics. It is about power, and these consumers are getting just shafted.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is I think the business is probably over the next 20 years will die off because the age of the user is dying off, and they're having a real problem getting the younger person to come in and fall for this.
You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like the older, and they do prey on the elderly. They've always done that. Like, they'll take entire busloads. Diamonds is known for doing that. Entire busloads in from the nursing home to try to get people to buy from the retirement community. So, yeah, there you go. And then Wyndham used to be kind of like a high night. When I thought of a Wyndham hotel, I thought that was a nice hotel. But they've kind of damaged their brand because they become more timeshare than they have hotel, and so now they're changing their name, huh?
They did. I mean, now they're trying to go by travel and leisure, and I think the main reason being that, this is my speculation, that Wyndham's brand is so damaged by what they're doing in timeshares. Yep.
Yeah, and I think Marriott may run into the same thing. Marriott has traditionally run some very nice hotel properties, and the staffing at those local hotels we've worked with all over the nation, excellent. But the leadership team at the top of Marriott, nasty bad people. We've had real problems with them. And now we're starting to see their timeshare stuff spike up as well. And so that kind of explains that. Christian Waugh, thanks for hanging out with us for a segment here.
Thanks so much.
Christian Waugh, attorney from Florida, representing attorneys who get sued by the timeshare business because they sued the timeshare people. Just in case you're wondering how circular this is.
So bizarre.
timeshare theme hour, or as a friend of mine in the business calls it, crime shares. If I can figure out a way to call them air shares. It's like an air chair, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not quite. I like the crime share.
We'll workshop that.
I wish I had said it.
Yeah. Who invented it?
This guy in the business. He's a big guy. He's one of the timeshare haters.
Oh, good.
He's going after him, so he calls them crime shares. He says it's the largest. Or actually, Christian Waugh said that in a different broadcast. He said it's the largest legalized fraud in America today. Wow. Online is Ben in Colorado Springs. Hey, Ben, tell us your story about crime shares.
Absolutely. They're horrible. Long before we met you, we learned the definition of gullible. So that was back in 2004. My wife and I actually were invited to Vail, Colorado, to a timeshare with Sheridan Mountain Vista, Westin Vacation Group, which eventually got purchased by Marriott.
Oh, Lord, you got Marriott.
Yeah, but we didn't know that at the time.
Oh, Marriott.
But they invited us to stay at a nice hotel, which was actually the Roach Motel. We walked across the street the next day, and it was just us. It was just my wife and I. We got to do an entire tour of the whole place. It had a really nice chairlift for winter skiing and everything like that. I was sold. And we come to find out through this whole process that it's going to be horrible. But, of course, we don't think about it until 3 days after we purchase. In the process of this, I was thinking about this. I ended up getting the disclosure statement. I have it in front of me. And this is blowing my mind. We thought we were only paying $8,000 for an every other year, even year event.
$1,000?
$7,897.
You thought you were paying $1,000.
We thought we were paying $7,000.
Oh, $7,000. Okay, all right.
It has a 16.75% APR. We were going to be paying $17,000.
You financed air. Okay.
I did. We did. We did, and we thought we were smart because we paid it off 2 years early.
Well, you were smart to do that, in the sense that you got rid of 17%. Oh my God!
And we hadn't even learned about you guys yet.
Wow.
But after day three, we tried calling back to Sheridan, and they said, "I'm sorry, our buyback option is on 3 days, not 4. You're stuck with it."
Of course.
We were horrified. We didn't know what the next 2 years were going to bring, let alone what the next 14 years that we actually owned it and never used it. We're going to bring.
So what's the status with Marriott today?
Well, we don't have any association with them anymore. We use the timeshare exit team style group. We used Lone Star Transfer to get out. Mm-hmm. And
so you used an exit team called Lone Star that got you out.
Yes.
Okay.
And it worked, but it was a lot longer than I wanted, and it still cost a lot of money.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to get out. Yeah, once you're in. Yeah.
So it was pretty scary.
But less than if you stay in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Roach Motel.
Yeah, the Roach Motel.
That should have been your first clue, right? And it wasn't.
But it was a nice hotel. Just going into the Sheridan Mountain Vista, it was even better at the Sheridan Mountain Vista. So they had connections.
Yeah, okay.
But we were smart enough to actually do our debt-free scream, though, with you guys in February of 2019.
Yay!
Yes.
Congratulations.
And we actually got out with a piece of paper saying, we still have our skin.
Yeah.
We got out in June of 2019. We had already paid off everything in 2012.
So that's when you got divorced from Marriott.
Yes. I hated it because every year we had over $600 in fees.
Yeah.
And we never went.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
Great story, man. Thanks for sharing it. That is a typical timeshare story. This is why I don't understand why people would buy them at all. But, I mean, hey, I don't understand some of the dumb things I've done, too. So I'm not going to pick on you about the dumb things you guys have done. I just want to celebrate them with you, and you and I together celebrating dumb things that we have done can keep other people from doing dumb things. Sounds like a plan. What do you think, George?
Yeah.
Have you ever bought a timeshare?
No, I almost fell for the presentation because we got lured into the spa day on the honeymoon, and I thought, no way, spending 3 hours with this woman, no thank you. Not my wife. Let me make that clear. Let me make that very clear. It was the
It kind of
timeshare
sounded like you were
saleswoman.
referring to Whitney.
God bless. She's
Yeah.
working on floor 5 now going, oh, my gosh, I'm coming down there.
That's hilarious. I'm going down there and
But you know what it
box
made me think of? It's easier to get a divorce than it is to get out of a timeshare. That's backwards. It's easy to get divorced in America than it is to get out of a timeshare. Think about that for a second.
And in most cases, less expensive.
100%.
At least the legal fees. Tom is with. You don't have to split assets with Marriott when you get rid of them, but it costs you a lot more than the legal fees. Hypothetically, Tom's in Dayton. Tom, tell us your timeshare story.
Guys, I feel a lot better now because I paid them $1,000 to take it back, and they agreed.
That's a good deal.
I was so happy to pay that $1,000.
Absolutely, you got a bargain.
The good news was we had a place in Maui.
Okay.
Now, if you're going to have a timeshare,
Maui sounds
God help
good.
you, hope it's in Maui.
Yeah, amen.
And I don't want to sound like a snob because I think you'll understand what I mean. You can only go one place so many times.
Yeah.
And I won't say we're tired of Maui, but we bought it 20 years ago. And I tried for the last 10 years to give it away, and I could not get anybody to take it from me for free.
No one would take your air.
No one would take it. They changed the rules on us. These people are good. I mean, they're much better at their job.
You don't
I'll
mean
tell
morally. You mean slick.
I mean, they're good at their job. They're good at getting your signature on that dotted line.
Screwing you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which company was your Maui timeshare with?
I'd rather not say because they have not. I sent them the $1,000, but they haven't sent me back the letter that said you're clear.
Oh, okay.
They're listening right now, Dave.
They are listening.
It's one of the big ones on Holly Beach.
I promise you they're listening, so don't say.
Yeah, when I get my letter back,
you can tell us another time, Tom. It's
one
okay.
Of the big
Just
ones.
between
it
us
might be
girls.
one of them
it's
you
all
mentioned
right.
on the show earlier.
Yeah.
Tell us what it rhymes with.
No, don't. I'm
kidding.
telling you, they're monitoring
it's
this
a nice
broadcast.
Hotel,
I
and
promise
I'll tell you. One day,
we've already gotten feedback. I promise you, it's okay. You just stay right where you are,
Tom.
Tom.
One day I was at the hotel, my wife and I was coming up from the pool in the elevator. I'm mentioning this because you suggested it to Louann a little while ago. I was coming up in the elevator, and it was obvious I was in the elevator with a salesman and 2 prospects. And the prospective couple, the husband looked at me and said, "Are you an owner?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "What do you think?" And I paused, and I just looked at him and said, "Run." The salesman's jaw hit his chest. And I just said, "Hey, he asked." And the elevator door opened and I left.
And here's my name. If you want to exit me for free, you can call me tonight. I will never do this again. Otherwise, I'm coming back every year and ride the elevator.
Right. Oh, believe me, I thought about putting cards through everybody's door saying, "Don't buy, I'll give it mine free." But they just, it's so hard to exchange. They tell you how easy it is to exchange. Well, you can exchange it for a less desirable destination in the off season anytime you want.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I hope the $1,000 goes through for you because we won't reveal what your real name is, Bob. I mean, Henry.
Secret's out.
George. You're
out.
George. Wait, I'm sorry.
You're Dave. Wow. This is fun in the worst way.
We're going to, it's a sick kind of fun that we have here on the Ramsey Show, but occasionally we have to do this just to let you guys know there are things out there and people out there that are out to get you. Most people trying to screw you are just enthusiastic ignoramuses, but others are just straight up crooks. They know what they're doing, and they're here to take you down. Payday lenders, they're here to take you down.
Yeah.
And crime shares, boxes of air, are right there with it. You really don't buy anything, people. It's not an asset. It's just a liability. This is weird.
Not a good investment.
Well, that puts this hour of the Ramsey Show in the books. Our thanks to Ben and Kelly in the booth taking care of business. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. That's George Camel over there. We'll be right back. have a friend or family member that needs a daily dose of Ramsey advice in their life? Let them know about the Ramsey Call of the Day podcast. It's a quick hit of advice about life and money in under 10 minutes. Check out the Ramsey Call of the Day podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. This is The Ramsey Show. You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career. You are the hero in your story. Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's The Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. Ramsey personality George Camel is my co-host today. He is the host of The Fine Print on Ramsey Networks. It is a new podcast we launched a couple of weeks ago. The third episode dropped today. We'll be taking your calls here at 888-825-5225. The first episode was how TurboTax is screwing you, and the true cost of credit card rewards was the second one. The Fine Print's all about digging in and finding out what the fine print says.
Exactly. The tagline is the hidden truths that are keeping you broke. And sometimes it's your own financial ignorance. Sometimes it's a money myth. And sometimes it's a bad product. It's a scummy company like timeshares, like you're talking about. And so we're trying to help people understand, because there's so many voices out there. There's social media and the headlines. And my dad told me to get an FHA loan and lease a car. And so I'm trying to do the research for people and go, hey, what's going on out there? What are the trends? And how can I help them avoid the traps? Because I found that when you follow the trends, you fall for the traps. It's an interesting relationship.
Now, how long ago did we record these episodes? There's 10 of them.
Yes.
And, they obviously went on several months building all of them.
Yeah.
But the one that dropped today was, it kind of felt like it was a little bit after the game, but now it's all coming back as COVID comes back. How to bulletproof your money for the next pandemic.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Like we thought, well, there's not going to be another pandemic, but now we got a little spike going.
Yes, I thought, well, is this going to be relevant by the time it launches? And wouldn't you know it, Dave, we've got the variant, people are starting to freak out again, and they're starting to go, oh crap, I need to get my financial situation in order because we don't know what's going to happen. And, Grandma said it's going to rain. And so we need a rainy day fund. We need an umbrella. And so in this episode, we talked to real people. We talked to a woman named Julie who lost her job. Mm-hmm. She faced homelessness, and here's her quote: "Having debt is a vulnerable lifestyle." And she said that with tears. You could hear her voice shaking because of how frustrated she was with her own situation. We talked to famed economist Dr. Art Laffer, who talked us through what happened with the CARES Act and what the government's role should be when it comes to a pandemic. And I compared it to a drunk guy at a party. He shows up, he breaks things, and you go, shouldn't have invited that guy. And that's kind of what happens when the government starts to get involved and they're trying to help. And they go, well, we're a few trillion in the hole.
The government is the drunk guy at the party.
That's what happens. He broke Grandma's heirloom lamp, and we go, who invited this guy? I didn't ask him to show up. And so we walk people through
That'll be your friends
concept.
who don't know how to vote properly, yeah.
Oh, my goodness, yes. And here's the thing with these podcasts, Dave. A lot of people go, I don't have room for another podcast. This is a 19-minute episode, and we're releasing these every other week, and it's narrative, it's storytelling. The feedback on the style has been really encouraging. People are really gravitating towards it. It hit number one in business the whole launch week. We even beat, I don't want to say it, we beat the Ramsey Show temporarily, just for one moment.
Beating it temporarily gives me great pride. Beating it a lot starts to make me worried about your job.
It's your fault because you talk about it on air and people go, okay, I'll go listen to it. So it's really your fault that we beat you.
Well, the good news is I own it, so I feel better now.
That's fair.
I feel better already.
Go listen to this thing. You can go to fineprintpodcast.com. You can search for The Fine Print wherever you listen to podcasts. Like you said, we've got 3 episodes out right now. We've got 7 more to go in season 1, and it's only 19 minutes, and it's really, I'm hoping it helps people go have that oh crap moment, the never again moment, the I'm going to draw a line in the sand moment. I'm going to get that emergency fund in place because I don't want to live vulnerably anymore.
Yeah, what we say around here is be the third pig. There were the 3 little pigs. One built his house out of straw, one out of sticks, and when the big bad wolf came, the pandemic came. He huffed and he puffed and he blew their house down. They all ran where? To their brother, who they made fun of earlier because he lived like no one else, so that later he could live and give like no one else, and he lived in a brick house. And when the big bad wolf came, he said, you 3 little pigs come out, and they said, not by the hair of our
Chinny chin chin.
That's the one. Thank you very much for that cue. Very good. And that's what you say to the pandemic. Yeah, I'm not coming out. I got. You know what happens with money is everybody's mad about money until they need some. Everybody's all philosophical about money's evil until they need some. And when you need some is when you need to put margin between you and danger, you and inconvenience, you and hunger. And money has no use. It's not worth anything except what it does. And in a pandemic or a personal tragedy or personal crisis, it doesn't have to be a nationwide thing. If you're the third pig, the little pig in the brick house, it puts you in a completely different mindset. Because you're thinking, Mr. Wolf, I think you might be in more danger than I'm in. You start to turn the tables on them when you're in a different position, because you've prepared. Now, people made fun of you. You're doing that Dave Ramsey stuff. Don't you know that's a cult? You're doing that stuff. You're Bible stuff. You're like one of those Christians. What are you, crazy? People always, all these broke people have an opinion, but be the third pig. Live on less than you make. Save money. Have an emergency fund. Be out of debt. You got $20,000 in the bank and no debt at all of any kind, and a pandemic comes, you're in a different place. Or a tragedy of some kind comes to your life. Yeah. It changes everything.
Oh, yeah. And I've been working on, so we're covering Baby Step 3 at our Financial Peace Accelerated event. And so I've been doing all this research on the emergency fund and Baby Step 3, and it's fascinating to me the amount of financial peace you get. You get out of debt, and you're still not quite there.
No.
You still are vulnerable.
Yes.
And once you get that emergency fund in place, it changes everything. It takes the drama out of life and all the crazy stuff. And you talk about this. It's funny, when you get an emergency fund, you stop having emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
And life gets a little easier because not everything is an emergency anymore.
Well, it takes the drama out. I mean, like during the pandemic, I had a lot of stress, but my stress was self-created because I have 1,000 people here that I didn't want them to lose their jobs. And I'm responsible as a leader. That was leadership stress. But I didn't have any financial stress. Because technically speaking, I would never want to do this. But I mean, if it went really sideways, I could send all of them home. All of this is paid for. I don't have any payments. I'll be okay, And so I don't want to do that. It seemed really unproductive and, it would break my heart in so many ways. But this idea that peace, financial peace, having an emergency fund in place, it changes everything.
Yeah, and we're looking at the stats here. We covered this in the podcast, but it's sad. 40% of Americans can't pay for a $300 emergency in cash. 50% don't have $1,000 in their savings account. And if we can bump up 1 percentage point because people listen to this podcast and go, all right, I got to do something differently.
Third pig, baby.
Be the third pig. And so it's called How to Bulletproof Your Money for the Next Pandemic. You can get it for free wherever you listen to podcasts. You can go to fineprintpodcast.com and check it out. And really, the hope is that we can help to uncover some of the stuff to help the people out there make smarter decisions with their money.
Yeah. Life is coming.
It's coming at you.
Pandemic or otherwise.
Get you an umbrella.
It's coming. Be the third pig. This is The Ramsey Show. What makes our show unique is that we genuinely care about our listeners. We're intentional about choosing the best advertisers to recommend. Blinds.com is no exception. They offer high-quality window treatments at unbelievable prices, and they make it simple to shop blinds, shades, and interior shutters with easy online ordering, free shipping, and a guaranteed perfect fit. Go to Blinds.com and take advantage of this week's special savings. Peak real estate season is here. This year, things are different. Home prices are higher. Competition between buyers is intense, and sellers need to know what they're doing if they're going to make the most out of the sale of their home. You don't want to play amateur hour in this mess. Don't jump headfirst into something you don't understand. You need to get advice from a pro who's done this before, like hundreds and hundreds of times, this being sell a house. Connect with one of our endorsed local providers. They are high-octane, high-protein agents. Go to RamseySolutions.com/agent. That's RamseySolutions.com/agent. Ronny is with us, and Hannah, and they are in New Orleans. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey, we are good.
Good. I see on my screen you're debt-free. How much have you paid off?
We paid off $236,000.
All right. How long did this take you?
About 30 months.
Good for you. And your range of income during that time?
We started out at about $60,000, and we went up to about $360,000.
Oh, good Lord. What do y'all do for a living?
We're both in the medical field.
Oh, so one of you graduated from med school and took off, huh?
Yeah, well, both of us.
Both of you did? Oh, okay. Uh-huh. So is this med school debt you were paying off?
Yeah. It was my medical school debt, and then my husband didn't have any debt with medical school.
How come?
I just came from a lucky family, from my standpoint. That was all paid off by my family, my parents.
I'll call it blessed.
I need that kind of luck. I was going to say.
I don't think luck had anything to do with it. But, yeah, good. Very good. All right, so you're both MDs?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Way to go. No, this is awesome. And you decided to do this very quickly in 2.5 years. Why?
Well, it was kind of a long time coming. We got your book when we were married in 2013. We read it, loved it, and then we put it right back on the shelf, and we did not follow that plan. So 5 years later, a family member was having some financial problems, and I was like, oh, I have a book for you. And then I realized that my medical school loans had gone from $170,000 to $230,000 in just 5 years because of the interest. So we decided that was the time to start paying it off.
So maybe the people with the financial problems were you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sit down and have the conversation, get the book back off the shelves. Is that how this works?
Yeah, pretty much, Ronny.
Yeah,
what do you say?
Hannah kind of spearheaded a lot of it. Read it, started going through the system, and seemed like a lot of steps. And, my first reaction was, it's a lot of work, doing all the budgeting and, the cash envelopes. And I had always been coming from a background where I was like, I'll just go with the flow and we'll just pay it off as we go. But then I'll say it, I married into some of this debt. So so we just started doing it bit by bit, and then we dove right in. And, eventually we were doing it 100%.
Were your family questioning your sanity or cheering you on?
It wasn't really a big public decision. There were definitely conversations where, I would talk about, we're not using credit cards anymore. And everyone would be like, well, that's crazy. Oh, what about all these points? And, you get like cash back and all these things. And honestly, like from a gut standpoint, I was like, yeah, that's true. I am missing out on all these points. But then, we stuck with the system and didn't get lulled into that, temptation of all those things because of the psychological aspect of all that. And so there were naysayers, but, here we are.
Yeah, one of my friends who was a naysayer was actually, I would constantly call her and be like, look what we just did and look what we just paid off. And she's like, God, y'all are so crazy.
Wow.
Do you guys have friends that are docs like you guys and they're going, wait, what are you doing? You should be buying nice cars. You should be living it up.
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Like buying $1 million homes and $100,000 cars. Yep. Yeah. That's what's going on.
And you realized I'm paying $60,000 in interest. You said it went from $170 to $230.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like good debt to me.
No, that wasn't good.
I thought student loans are good debt, Dave. I'm confused. Just blew my mind.
You guys are incredible. What do you tell people the key to getting out of debt is?
I say the budgeting weekly, and just checking in all the time, and having like a goal in mind for the end.
Wow. Good for you. Well done. How's it feel to be free?
Feels pretty good.
Yeah.
We still got some work to do, but at this point, the being debt-free aspect has been a huge relief and a big step.
How old
the
are you
money
two?
comes in and it stays in, so that's nice.
Yeah. Well, you're making a lot of money. Now you get to keep it. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Plus or minus some taxes, right? Yeah. Well done. All right. Well, Ronny Hannah, we're real proud of you guys. Well done. We got a copy of The Legacy Journey for you. And that, of course, is the next chapter in your story to completely change your legacy. You've got the income to do that, and the outgo is not all going out anymore. I love it. And, of course, a copy of the Total Money Makeover for you to give to someone else. Ronny and Hannah, New Orleans, $236,000 paid off in 30 months, making $60 to $360. Count it down. Let's hear a debt-free scream.
Ready? 3,
2, 1. We're debt-free!
Yeah! Wow. Giovanna is with us in Newark, New Jersey. Hey, Giovanna, what's up?
Hi. How you doing?
Good. How can we help?
Yes, so I am all in with your principles, and I am a host for the Financial Peace so far twice this year, and we'll do the next class in October. But I must admit, I am feeling very discouraged because I don't have any debt, and I'm coming out of a 22-year marriage, and always been a stay-at-home mom and homeschool mom, and so here I am trying to get an apartment, and they're wanting credit. How do you get an apartment if you don't have credit? I don't want a credit card. I don't want anything to do with that, but I feel discouraged because how can I get something without credit?
How many of you actually talked to?
Yeah, a lot, actually. Just was going on realtor.com and...
Did you actually call the apartment complex and talk to the manager?
Not the manager, but the person that would actually answer the phone, you know.
Because we did a thing, Anthony O'Neill's on YouTube. We did a thing. He called 20-plus apartments and said, I have no credit score. How much of a down payment or how much of a deposit do I have to make, and will you rent to me? And all of them but two would rent to him.
Wow. So I'm right now in New Jersey trying to move to Arizona because my son has a scholarship opportunity out there, and you know,
and you've actually called 20 apartments, 20 rentals in Arizona, or you just looked on Realtor.com?
No, I haven't called 20. I just, I've called 3 that is within my price range.
Yeah, 3 is not enough to get discouraged.
But I haven't spoke to the manager, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, just call them and say, you have a job, right?
I don't.
Well, honey, that's why they don't care if you got a credit score or not. They don't rent to you without a job.
Right. So, like I said, my situation is a little bit odd. Like I said, 22 years.
Yeah, but it's not your credit score is the problem. I'll rent to you without a credit score as a landlord. I do all the time, but I'm not going to rent to you if you don't have a job.
Right. So, I mean, my income is alimony and child support. So I do have that as my income.
I'm not renting to you on alimony and child support because he's not dependable.
Okay, gotcha.
I have to know you can pay the rent as the landlord.
Yeah, they're going to want proof of income.
It's not your credit score. Plus, you've only actually talked to 3. You're not allowed to get discouraged when you talk to 3, and that's your sample size. Talk to 30. Tell them what's going on. Maybe one of them will rent to you with child support and alimony. If you can live on that. This is The Ramsey Show. from the lobby of Ramsey Solutions on the debt-free stage. Todd and Ashley are with us. Hey, guys, how are you?
Doing good.
Welcome. Where do you guys live?
San Jose, California.
Wonderful. And how much debt have you paid off?
$305,512.88.
Love it. How long did this take?
3 years and 9 months.
Goodness gracious. And your range of income during that time?
About 165 to about 280.
Cool. What do y'all do for a living?
I'm a pediatrician.
And I'm an engineer in the medical device field.
Wow. Great careers, obviously great incomes, but obviously a lot of debt. So I'm guessing maybe a little school debt in that.
100%.
All student debt.
Every bit of it.
All
Every
of
bit of it.
$306,000.
Yep.
Woo! So how long you guys been married?
Coming up on 4 years now in November.
Okay.
Yep.
So right after the marriage, you looked down and you went, oh my God.
Yep.
This just got real.
Just before we got married. We had been kind of talking about the debt that I mostly had.
Med school debt, of course.
Med school debt, yep, exactly.
Right. And so you sat down and said, oh, we got to do something about this. Tell us the story. What happened?
So it actually started a couple months before we got married. I was on one of my last rotations in medical school. I was working with some paramedics, and we were up late one night just kind of hanging out at the station, and he was talking to me about the student debt that he had. A conversation that I would say I had several times throughout my training with different physicians, nurses of various levels. And usually the conversation would end, yeah, I have a lot too. Oh, well. And this conversation was a little bit different. He mentioned your name, and he said that he was actively working, picking up a lot of shifts, which he can do in his field to work on his debt. And your name rang a bell. So I realized my dad had talked about you my entire life.
Oh,
so
financial peace, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Hadn't always followed the steps until more recently, which has been exciting to see them go through it too. But yeah, that night I basically started Googling your name, pulled up your podcast, and usually when I find something, I go 100% in. So I did, and I basically downloaded every podcast that would fit on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
And listened to them just back to back to back.
Wow.
Yeah, and then pretty much came to Todd with, hey, I know you were really afraid of all the debt you're marrying into, but here's a pretty cool plan.
I've just been brainwashed by this podcast, and oh my gosh. And
Exactly.
Todd, what'd you say?
It took me a little bit to get on board. Like she said, she's 100% in when she goes in. And so, she encouraged me to listen to some podcasts. I kind of have to come to things on my own. And so it took not very long, though. It took me a couple weeks, and I started to listen to some of your podcasts. And, I'm a logical guy. I'm an engineer, and it all just made perfect sense to me. And, I've never been debt-free in my life. My parents always had debt, gave me a wonderful childhood, but, the debt was kind of always looming my entire life. So I had no idea what being debt-free was like. And so, I wanted a plan. It was one of those things that you just kind of push it off to the side, and you just think we're going to be able to make enough money to pay this off at some point. But definitely my heart sank when I saw just how much loans that she had. But so I was enthusiastic that she actually, found a plan that we could work together. And so, I was 100% on board once I started to kind of learn more about your program.
Because when you first hear the amount, you go, that's going to take a while.
Yep.
And you did it in 3 years and 9 months. When you first were sitting down looking at this, did you dream you could do it that fast?
No, we initially planned 5 years when we kind of laid it all out. And I had done all my training. I'm from Texas and was moving out to California for more training. So the thought of paying California rent prices and still being in training and doing this plan.
And taxes.
Exactly.
And all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
And extra cost of living, really.
Right.
Yep.
So it was hard to...
San Jose's not cheap.
It's not.
Definitely not.
So it was hard to estimate those costs. And I think, we made a good plan. It was 5 years. And typical Ashley form, I was like, I want to do it in 4. I think that sounds better than 5 years. And so we got a little bit more aggressive. And then as you get towards the end, it truly snowballs. And that's how we were able to even tick off a couple more months to make it under 4 years, which was really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you guys lived on less than you make. But what were the sacrifices that you guys had to do to keep this thing more and more aggressive?
A lot of trips, right? A lot of our friends coming straight out of school. I was in grad school out at Texas when we met, and so I had friends that had just finished their PhD programs too, and she was having friends right after residency and med school that were doing a lot of really fun traveling, a lot of really fun eating out, and there was just a lot of stuff we had to say no to, and so we couldn't go on a lot of those trips. It was kind of the time in our lives when a lot of our friends were getting married too, so we had to say no to a lot of weddings, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, that sort of thing. But yeah, that was, I think, pretty hard.
So some FOMO there. You're scrolling on Instagram while you're eating rice and beans going, oh, man, look, they just went on that trip. Look like they have fun over there.
Yep.
But you guys had the JOMO mentality, which is what I call it, the joy of missing out, because you had bigger priorities. You had bigger plans for your life, and you knew this was a temporary sacrifice to set you up for the future.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Man, you guys are awesome.
Who were your biggest cheerleaders? I'm guessing your dad.
Yeah, definitely both of our parents. So my dad was really excited when I brought up your name, and he was like, oh, yeah, he's great. We've never been able to fully jump on board, but he's great.
So you should do that.
So they actually
I've not done it, but you should do it.
Yeah, so they actually jumped on board and were able to get out of debt themselves during our journey. And Todd's parents are doing the same, and it's been really fun just to see our families cheer us along and get on board. So I have siblings as well with, debt of various types who are getting really excited to do so. Our friends were great, especially having friends in our careers where they were doing fun trips and they were eating out and they wanted to have us out with them. And they thought we were weird, but they were absolutely supportive, and that really made it easy. And we made ways to, cook meals from our home and have friends over, or vice versa.
That's good.
And that definitely made it easier.
Yeah, that's the good friends. Yeah,
we can be obnoxiously passionate about the program too. So we had a lot of people just kind of come on board too, where they'd see us do it for so long that we had a few friends also get debt free before we did because they had a little bit lower load. My parents are credit card debt free for the first time in 33 years, and so definitely we've been feeling the ripple effects too. So
I love it. I'm so proud of you guys. Look at you evangelizing it. I love it. Yeah. That's fun. Very fun. Okay. What do you tell people the secret to getting out of debt is?
For me, it was the budget. I really loved crunching the numbers and doing the budget, and I think seeing it on paper every month made it easier when we had to say no, and it made it easier when we wanted to make decisions of adjusting the budget each month. We had a decision, and when we had that end goal in mind, it made it easier when I could see it on paper and see the progress month to month. So I think the budget was really the key and continues to be the key even as we're out of debt, to kind of track everything coming in and everything going out.
Yeah, because now you can live and give like no one else. I mean, you're in a position of incredible incomes and going nowhere but up, and of course no payments at all. So I have a theory, because I do truly believe that personal finance is 80% behavior, 20% knowledge, and I've spent the last 25 years trying to get people to adhere to or submit to a proven process, a system. And I kind of have noticed, it's not always true, but I've kind of noticed that professions who require you in your discipline to adhere, like medicine and engineering, there's not really, there's a way to build a bridge that it will fall, and there's a way to build a bridge that it will stay up in engineering, right? I mean, there's a way to treat a known disease with a known treatment program, and there's a way you don't do it. And you don't make up your own deal. You submit to the process, and the patient has to submit to the process. The client that you're designing something in the engineering world has to submit to the process. Otherwise, it's going to freaking not work. And I think people that do what you do, you see something like we do, and you go, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like you guys had a lot of angst about, well, I kind of need to reinvent this. I'm like an artist. You're like, nope, doing it. Do the plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it gave us encouragement. I mean, looking at the number to start with was just so overwhelming. And to have a plan that kind of breaks it down little by little. I mean, we could initially pay off, really, really small student loans and just see it snowball.
Well done, you guys. We got a copy of the Legacy Journey for you and Total Money Makeover as well. $306,000 paid off in 3 years and 9 months, making $165 to $280. Count it down. Let's hear a debt-free scream.
3, 2, 1.
We're debt-free! Yeah! Whoop, 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 whoop.
Incredible.
I love it. This is The Ramsey Show. wake up this morning and realize you had $306,000 in student loan debt or $236,000 in student loan debt? That was our last two debt-free screams. Maybe you just woke up and you thought, I have a lot of debt, or I have a lot of problems, or I don't know what I'm doing with money. You know what that would make you? Normal. But normal's not good. Normal's not fun. Normal scares you. Normal keeps you up at night. You don't want to be normal. So if you want to decide this is the last month you're going to be normal, I want to get out of debt. I want to build wealth. I want to be generous. This month only, we're knocking $30 off a 12-month membership to our most impactful, life-changing money products. That's Ramsey Plus's membership. With that, that's where you go if you want to go to Financial Peace University. That's where you go if you want to plug into our premium version of our budgeting tool, Every Dollar, the world's best budgeting app. Plugs into your bank and everything this way. So, you go to Ramsey Plus, you get a free trial by texting trial to 33789. Jump in there, look at Financial Peace University, look at Every Dollar, look at all the other things we have there to help you change your entire life, and it's $30 off this month, only $99.99. Text trial if you want to do a free trial to 33789. Patrick is with us in Fort Myers, Florida. Hi, Patrick. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi, how you doing?
Better than I deserve. What's up in your world?
Basically, I'm trying to see if I can justify myself a new truck.
Okay.
My wife and I, basically, we live on our paychecks, not counting our investments, about $73,000 a year on the take-home pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at a $45,000 truck.
Why?
Currently, we have zero debt except for the mortgage on my home.
Mm-hmm.
And a 2-year fully funded emergency fund.
Okay.
Along with that, I've been doing extra payments on my current truck, which I bought in 2006. I fully paid that off, and I continued making payments and have a savings account of approximately $82,000.
Well, that's good. Well, number one rule when you're getting ready to buy cars, can you pay cash for it? And the answer is obviously you can pay cash for it. Is this a new truck?
No, it's actually 2007.
Okay, all right. And the other thing we try, the other rule of thumb we use, Patrick, is that the largest thing we all buy that goes down in value is a car. And things that go down in value defeat our wealth building plan. They work against us to build wealth, obviously, if they're going down in value. And so we try to not put too much into things that are going down in value, because the goal here is to build wealth so that you can drive anything you want to drive and not have to worry about it. And so the rule we've used for years is don't buy things with motors and engines all added together that's more than half your annual income, and this is.
Well, actually, when I say that's my annual income, that's just what we live on. It's not counting all the revenue we get from the business that we own as well as our rental income.
Well, then that's not your income. What is your annual income?
My annual income is $382,000.
Okay. Well, then you can afford a $45,000 truck if you pay cash for it, as long as the other car is not a $150,000 vehicle.
The other car's already paid off anyway.
Doesn't matter if it's paid off. If it's a Lamborghini, you can't have the truck. But otherwise, you can get the truck. Yeah, I mean, here, because, you got plenty of money. It's not your salaried income. It's the income. The point is, we're trying to measure and say, are you putting too much of your life in things that are going down in value? When you have a $300,000 income and $80,000 in the bank to buy the thing with, $45,000 is not too much of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those numbers change everything. When I thought you were making $73,000 and you want to buy a $46,000 truck, I mean, that's insane. But based on the numbers you just shared with us, this is a fine move. I would question, is this just a fun toy? I mean, you guys have worked really hard. You said you had a 2-year emergency fund?
Yeah, it's a little steep.
You guys go all in on whatever it is. So it sounds like he's going all in on this truck, and you have the money for it. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, and I would adjust your emergency fund to 6 months and invest the difference, or put it onto your mortgage if you've got a mortgage still. So those are the kinds of things. But if you make $300,000 a year and you have the money to pay cash for a $45,000 truck and it's not brand new, no problem. If it is brand new and your net worth is over $1 million, no problem. Do it. That's still just fine. Kara's in San Diego. Hi, Kara. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hey, Dave. It's an honor to talk to you today.
You too. What's up?
Really cool. So I'm looking at updating my health insurance. My husband and I are trying to start a family this year, and I'm a little fed up with just how health insurance is going with us. Looking into HSAs, and at face value, it seems like the HSA is more expensive than my current plan, and I'm wondering what I'm missing.
The HSA is typically a cheaper premium, a higher deductible, and typically they're 100% pay after the deductible. Is that what yours is?
At face value, from what I'm seeing, the HSA would be more per month, about $30, and the out-of-pocket max is also more than what I pay now, which is about a $4,500 out-of-pocket max with an annual or monthly premium that is about.
What's your deductible on the other plan?
Cheaper.
Well, you said the out-of-pocket max is still more. Yeah.
Yeah, everything seems more. So I'm wondering if maybe you could explain the tax benefits, because maybe that's where I'm seeing savings, is on an annual perspective.
I mean, you might see some there, but usually the premium is less. So that's an unusual plan you've got. Is this through work, I assume, right?
This is through Cover California.
Oh, I have no idea what they're doing.
Okay.
So, I mean, because let me tell you, in our corporate plan and in most of the corporate plans in America, the HSA will be a higher deductible, a higher out-of-pocket per year. And so it doesn't work as well for people who are have chronic illness. They're constantly in there. It works best for people who have very little illness. Okay. And so, I mean, if you're constantly bumping up into that thing, into that deductible, and it's going to end up costing you more with an HSA. But like the Ramsey family, knock on wood, has been inordinately healthy and blessed in that regard. So we almost never use our health insurance. And so what we end up with is basically a high deductible, cheaper premium policy at our house. Now, but that's, so far, thank you, Lord. But in your case, I'm not positive. The tax benefit is simply whatever you put into the savings portion of the health savings account is tax deductible like a traditional IRA. That's the only tax savings.
I see. So is that something like where if you were to invest dollars out of your paycheck, like not through an employer or something?
Right. I would rather you max out retirement before you start putting in money into an HSA. I would rather you pay off your mortgage before you start putting substantial money into your HSA.
Well, that actually really helps.
Yeah. So it sounds like with your analysis of California Cover Care, which I have never looked at, I don't know the details. So, but it sounds like based on your analysis, you would go with the not HSA because for whatever reason, the way they've designed that offering, the HSA is not cheaper, which is weird.
Yeah, I would look into the fine print on that and contact them and have them walk you through the numbers because I'm with you, Dave. I'm on the HSA here. I've got the high deductible, and it's the cheapest option.
Yeah.
For monthly premiums. And so I'd be shocked if it's more for your premium on that side. So definitely look into that. There may be something that you're not aware of or not understanding fully. So contact them and do some research and dig into that.
Yeah, it is California. It is California government. So you don't know. I mean, there's no telling what they're doing. But once the government puts their hands in something, it's hard to tell what's going to happen. But an open market policy with a typical company in America, you're going to find the HSA to be a higher deductible and a lower premium normally. That's the normal plan, and most of them are, again, after you meet your deductible, they have 100% coverage. There's no copay. So your out-of-pocket is your deductible in those cases, your max out-of-pocket. George Camel, my co-host this hour. Thanks to Ben and Kelly in the booth. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. This is The Ramsey Show. We'll be back.
It's Kelly, associate producer and phone screener for The Ramsey Show. If you would like to do your debt-free screen live on the show, make sure you visit theramseyshow.com and register. We would love for you to come to Nashville and tell Dave your story.
This is The Ramsey Show. You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career. You are the hero in your story. Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's The Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. George Camel, Ramsey Personality, is my co-host today. He is the host of The Fine Print, a newly minted podcast out on the Ramsey Network. He's also the host of the Entree Leadership Podcast, with new episodes dropping every Monday. The Fine Print is a 10-episode podcast. The third one dropped today. If you want to listen to it, digging into, like we were told as we were kids, read the fine print.
Yes. This is just the new school version, and we're really digging into all of the money myths, all of the scummy companies, the bad products, the financial ignorance that's keeping America broke. So I'm on a mission to get America unbroke, if that's a thing. If we can do that, I will have succeeded. So we've got these narrative storytelling episodes coming out every other week. They're short form. They're no more than 30 minutes. Today's episode is 19 minutes, and we're going to help bulletproof your money for the next pandemic. So if that's you and you had an oh crap moment,
that's this episode that dropped today.
Just dropped this morning. It's
bulletproof
fresh.
Your finances. Bulletproof what?
How to bulletproof your money for the next pandemic. We might be in the next pandemic. I don't know. I can't tell when one ends and the next one starts. It's all mixing together now.
Well, yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah. But hey, an emergency fund, it can change everything. So we're going to walk you through that. We've got Dr. Art Laffer, the economist. We've got real-life stories and really tactical advice.
Yeah, hands-on stuff. So be sure and check it out, The Fine Print. Anywhere great podcasts are listened to, you can tune in and find it there. Max is with us. Max is in Los Angeles. Hi, Max. How are you?
Dave, how are you? Thank you so much for taking my call.
My pleasure. How can we help?
Real quick, I was wondering, how do I go about finding the valuation of a service-based sole proprietorship business? I was recently made an offer to take it over for free, not as an old friend of mine that just I knew I was looking for a career change, and said you can have my entire business. Mainly it's service-based, doing home repairs, doing repairs for property management companies, kind of handyman / construction service. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know how to even begin to evaluate it.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. The business has a value beyond what you would pay someone if you were an absentee owner not working in it to operate it. And this sounds a little bit like this guy owns his job more than he owns a business.
Right.
So what is his income?
Well, I'm going to find out the details a little later, but I know if I were to guess, it's anywhere between about 140 to 250, anywhere in that realm, probably.
Gross revenue or net profit?
Net profit.
Well, that's pretty substantial. Does he have employees?
Only when he needs helpers, but typically it's just him.
Okay. All right. So here's the way you value a business properly. In that scenario or anything else where the owner is operating in the business and not paying himself a separate salary, you act like you're not going to work in the business. Okay? So if you were going to just buy this business, you'd have to staff it, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you staff this to do basically what he does, then what does that cost? Let's just use a pretend, okay? Let's pretend he's netting $100,000 and you can staff it for 60. You can hire a handyman to work for you to do the business, okay? And then you're an investor is all at that point, okay?
Okay.
So your rate of return is net of paying your staff. If you made a net profit before of 100, you pay someone 60 to do the work. Your net profit would be 40. You follow my example?
Yes, sir.
And that's the way we look at this, and your way you'll have to analyze it and come down to it, especially where you're buying kind of a one-man band situation, because you have to be very careful there. But even if he had 10 employees, if he was netting $250 but not paying himself anything, you got to figure out what it takes to hire a manager to run a 10-employee operation that does home improvement. and net's 250. Well, you're probably going to pay that guy 100, so you probably got 150 net profit that you would use. Now, then you say, as an investor, what kind of rate of return do I want to make on my money? Well, when you're buying a small business, the rate of return should be anywhere from 20 to 25%. Because it's a high-risk investment. Low-risk investments like mutual funds pay 10, 11, 12. Real estate a little bit more. But this is a high-risk investment to buy a small business. And so if I want a 20% rate of return, that means I want 5x. The business is worth 5x of the net profit after staffing. Or if you want a 25%, it's worth 4x after staffing. So in my example of a $40,000 net profit, 5 of that would be a $200,000 valuation. 4 would be a $160,000 valuation. So that would be the range that company netting $40,000 would be worth. Somewhere in there. You value it based on a rate of return. It's called a cap rate on the net profit, 4 or 5x of that net profit after all staffing. And George, when we're working with entree leaders, they oftentimes say things like, well, I have goodwill. I have a great brand, a great reputation in the marketplace, right?
Yep.
You've heard them say that.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and the problem is your great reputation or your goodwill in the marketplace is worth 0 unless you use it to create money. If you have a great reputation and you make no profit, what your reputation is you're not very good at running a business. That's actually your reputation. He's a really nice guy and he sucks at business. That's your reputation because you don't make a profit. And so, but if you make a profit, the goodwill, the value of your brand, the notoriety of the family and the community, the whatever, is only valuable to the extent it turns money in. Now, it has an intrinsic value, it has a philosophical value, a spiritual value, a feel-good value, all of those things, but none of that has to do with the financial calculation.
No. And I'm worried about Max getting into a bad business deal because it sounds like this is going to cost him a lot of money if he buys this thing based on the numbers he shared.
He said the guy was going to give it to him.
I mean, if he's just handing it over, I'd question why.
He's tired. He doesn't want to do it anymore, and he can't find anybody to buy it.
And so he says, hey, this is yours if you want it.
Yeah.
The problem is this guy's working his tail off, it sounds like.
Yeah, he might be working 80 hours a week, and those numbers might not be real.
Yeah. I'd want some hard numbers on paper and go, hey, prove this.
Look at the old last 2 years of tax returns. What'd you pay taxes on? Well, I didn't report it all. Well, then we can't count anything.
Yeah.
Because now we can't trust you because you lie on your taxes. So.
I just don't want this to be a lot of work for Max if he takes this thing over and goes, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was getting into.
If you're looking, what we encourage people to do in entree leadership is don't buy a job. Okay, if you're going to end up making your income out of the thing, and that's all there is, and there's no real net profit, don't pay to buy a job.
Yeah.
Just go get a job.
Get you one.
Right? But if this guy's going to hand it to you, and if it's really making money, and he's just tired of it, then that's something you can certainly look at, Max. Very cool. Good discussion. Thanks for calling in, brother. This is The Ramsey Show. Stop paying your overpriced wireless provider and switch to Pure Talk. They use the same network as the larger providers for much less. For just $30 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data with no contract. The average family saves over $70 a month by switching to Pure Talk. Just go to puretalk.com and enter the promo code Ramsey to save 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, simply smarter wireless. Ramsey Show. George Camel, Ramsey Personality, is my co-host today. Our question of the day comes from Blinds.com. They have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Means even if you mismeasure or you pick the wrong color, they'll remake your window blinds for free. Free samples, free shipping. Great company. They run new promos all the time. You want window blinds? These are the guys. Use the promo code Ramsey to get the best deal.
Today's question comes from David in Pennsylvania. I would like to purchase a small house. My neighbor, who's a realtor, says I have to have a credit score to get a mortgage. I'm 18 years old, and I'm not too sure what to do. I was inspired by you not to get a credit card, so I use debit cards or pay with cash. Do I need to establish a credit score to buy a home? The age-old question. Well, this one's easy because I did it without a credit score. So
there we go. Personal testimony.
Real life proof.
You are a homeowner, and you did not pay cash. You got a mortgage.
We got a mortgage.
And you did it without a credit score.
And we did it with no score.
Wait a minute. Are you real?
We're not real.
You're not real. You're a robot.
We're figments of your imagination.
Yeah.
This is the funniest part, Dave. We get this a lot, and we talk about manual underwriting. We talk about no-score loans. Of course, our friends at Churchill Mortgage do these all day long. But for some reason, people go, it's so much work. Oh, my gosh, you can't imagine how much work it is to get a no-score loan.
What did you have to do?
I literally had to look up maybe 3 utility payments. I had to pick up maybe a few extra W-2s and hit an upload button. And I went, okay, wow, that was a lot of work.
They didn't even verify your employment?
I mean, sure, they do the basics, but there was nothing crazy where I went, oh,
you had to sign a piece of paper saying they could email us or check with us, I assume.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
they usually do a VOE, a verification of employment.
Yes.
And a VOD, the verification of deposit at your bank, make sure you have the money.
Yes.
And a W-2 and a couple of utility bills. I don't know how you got through all that. Sounds stressful.
I know. Oh, my, it took 17 years for us to get the mortgage, Dave. It was really, it was not that big of a deal. I almost wanted it to be a bigger deal because people made it out to be this big deal. And so, David, to answer your question, you do not need to establish a credit score unless you want to play the game of the system. And you're already doing great. You're paying with cash. You're using a debit card. So here's my advice: is to go with someone like a Churchill Mortgage who does a no score loan, manual underwriting. They call it a few different things. And here's what I would tell you: get a healthy down payment. You're 18 years old. You're super young, and he's looking into getting a mortgage. And the biggest thing is to get that healthy down payment where they go, oh, this guy's got money. He's got a job. He pays his bills on time. We're going to give him a mortgage. That's how they did it in the olden days.
Yeah, back in the day before FICO took over the world. All right, so here's the first thing. It's okay if you don't buy a house when you're 18. As a matter of fact, it's probably better than okay. If you just take your time, you're all right. The second thing is, a real estate agent that does not know about manual underwriting, that you can buy a home without a credit score, is not a credible real estate agent. This is not someone that you would use. They do not know what the crap they're doing. So don't use your neighbor, the real estate agent.
Yeah,
he's incompetent.
And if they are saying, nah, we can't do that, it's probably because they just don't want to go through the hassle.
No, it's because they don't know how.
Yeah.
And which means they're ignorant, and you don't need to buy a house from them. That's what it means. And so it's a pretty simple formula in that regard. Scary. Wow. Hey, Paycheck to Purpose, Ken Coleman's new book on pre-sale is breaking records. The amount of these books we have sold on pre-sale, blowing my mind. Okay, the title of the book is From Paycheck to Purpose, The Clear Path to Doing Work You Love. It's available pre-sale now, and that includes $100 worth of goodies. It's not just another how-to guide for finding a dream job. If you pre-order today, you will receive the Get Promoted bonus pack for free. It includes an audio lesson on promotions, how to get promoted, the DISC assessment, a free live stream access to Ken's From Paycheck to Purpose live event, a 30-day free trial to Ramsey Plus, and over $100 worth of free stuff to help you get promoted. Oh, man, this is a bargain. All for a $20 book. Why are we doing all this? Because the book comes out in November, and we want to pre-sell a whole bunch of them and make sure these comes out of the gate on the bestseller list. And so we sell the crud out of them up front, and we bribe you to buy them early with all these hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of stuff extra. So go to the online store, RamseySolutions.com, pre-order the book Paycheck to Purpose for only $20, and get these hundreds of dollars worth of Get Promoted bonus items. Also, the month of August means cash giveaway. We're giving a $500 cash giveaway every week and a grand prize of $3,000 cash at the end of August. For the chances to win for that, no purchase necessary. Got to be 18 to win. Text CASH to 33789. CASH to 33789. Scott is with us. Scott is in Nashville. Hi, Scott. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hey there, Dave. How you doing today?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So I recently moved down to Nashville, right? And I'm starting to look at purchasing my first house. And being that I've never been a salaried employee before, and this is all kind of brand new to me, I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize my money in order to most efficiently go about purchasing my house. And so right now, I have about...
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Good. What do you make?
So I make $43,000 a year. And then after deductions and taxes and everything come out, it's more like $25,000 take home.
Okay. Cool.
Now, I want to ask you this, Scott. Do you have any debt right now?
I got about $7,000 left. That's all on a car note. I just paid off my student loans today.
Good for you. Awesome. Way to go, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, here's
Thank
the
you.
deal.
I appreciate that.
I love that you're moving here and you want to buy a house, but I want you to get rid of this debt first. Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have any savings right now?
I got about $5K put away.
You have $5K saved?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you're following our plan and not Scott's plan, here's what I want you to do. You're going to take $4,000 of that and pay the car down today, which is going to take you down to $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get aggressive on that remaining $3K, and with your income, you should be able to crush that within a few months. And then I want you to save up a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. And so once you know what expenses you're going to have living here, fill that up, and then we can talk about saving up for this house. And that's where baby step 3B comes in, where we save up aggressively for that down payment for about 2 years. And, in that 2 years, you might be in good luck because the market may slow down here in Nashville. Things are crazy right now, Dave.
Yeah. So, Scott, this whole thing is new to you, and this idea of getting on a plan and working through. George just outlined for you what we call the baby steps. And it's the baby steps, the shortest distance between where you are today and becoming wealthy. And if you do things in a very precise, proven order, you'll bring less pain to yourself and more probability to going into wealth. And so that's what he just outlined for you. But also involved in that is just learning how to handle money overall. And that's a brand new subject. I mean, you're a young guy just getting started, first time out, first job in a new city. So here's what I want you to do. Our class is Financial Peace University on how to handle money. Included in that is EveryDollar, the world's best budgeting app. The whole thing is on sale right now for $99 for a 1-year subscription to Ramsey Plus, which puts you in this, okay? What I'm going to do is I want to give it to you free, okay?
Wow, thank you.
However, if I do that, there's 2 conditions. Number 1, you have to promise me you'll actually freaking do the stuff.
Yeah, of course.
You have to actually look at it and do it. If I give it to you and it's just wasted, that's a bad thing. And the second thing is when you're rich someday, and you will be if you follow these steps, I want you to find a 23-year-old guy who's just getting started, and I want you to buy it for him someday.
Okay.
Okay? But that's later. It's only if everything I teach you works, okay? And, you don't have to pay it forward if there's nothing to pay from.
Yeah.
So
I was in Scott's place. I was 23, moved here, started working here, and
Wow.
I'm rooting for him. I see myself in
and
Scott.
by the way, you're how old?
32 now.
And your house will be paid off when?
In a few months.
Ding. Just
Come on,
like
Scott.
that.
You got this, buddy.
Just like that. Hold on. Kelly will pick up Scott. She'll get you signed up for a 1 year on Ramsey Plus and put you into Financial Peace University. Make it happen, brother. favorite thing to do on the Ramsey Show is debt-free screams. Our next favorite thing to do is do debt-free screams in the lobby of Ramsey Solutions on the debt-free stage. But our mostest of mostest...
Is that a word?
It is now. I just made it up, and I own the place. Our mostest of mostest favorite debt-free scream is our own team members on the debt-free stage in the lobby. The only negative is it lowers productivity in the company because everybody wants to come out and watch their friend that they work with
75 people
do their
out there.
debt-free scream. So there's a bunch of people out here not working right now, watching this debt-free scream, which is absolutely awesome because they're cheering their own along. So Tyler is with us. Tyler Green is a paid media specialist with Ramsey. Just got here, been here about 90 days. And, of course, Ashley is with us as well, spouse. So way to go, guys. How much debt did you pay off?
I paid off $46,119.92, Dave.
Love it. And how long did that take you?
Took us 7 months.
7 months. All right. And our rule is we do not ask the team members their household income because that's not fair in front of all their team members.
Hashtag awkward.
Yeah. Well, and inappropriate and all those kinds of things. So, and I'm very inappropriate if you didn't know. So, but we're not going to be today. So, way to go, guys.
Thank you.
What kind of debt was your $46,000?
So it was a little mix of consumer credit card debt, and we had purchased a vehicle that we needed to pay off. Thankfully, we actually cash flowed college, so we didn't do that route. But we did buy a lot of things we shouldn't have bought at that time.
Okay, so you're a new team member for the last 3 months.
Right.
But you started this 7 months ago.
Correct.
Tell us the story. How did all this unfold?
You want to go ahead and start?
So going back to kind of our story starts when we first got married, and we were gifted FPU by a family friend, and we didn't know anything about you. My parents did, but we were gifted FPU, and we were like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's fun, but we didn't do anything with it. We didn't go through the class.
Sure.
We didn't listen.
Of course not.
We were hoping for like a couch or
like
TV.
something usable.
Yeah,
Yeah, a toaster oven. I mean, come on.
My parents ended up convincing us to pay off some debt. So we did get out of debt early on in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
How long have you been married?
6.5 years.
Okay. All right.
And then we decided to start going through the course, going through the program, but we did it separately. So part of our dysfunction was he would listen to the audio tapes in the car and I would do something at home, but we were never together when we did it together.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't together. So we were in and out of debt for quite a while and never
because you
really...
were never, one of you's hot, one of you's cold.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
We weren't
Okay.
on the same page.
Got it.
Like we understood the concept, we understood it. We were on not wanting debt, but not well enough because we
Right.
weren't on that same
Right.
page. So we were in and out of debt for a while, and then fast forward to...
Shortly after you get pregnant.
So we bought the car, and then we had Titus. I left, who's our oldest. I left teaching. I was a teacher. Left teaching, stay at home with the kids, and start my own business. And
we started to realize we needed a few things in our life. One of the things we needed was a car for her, and we didn't actually have the plan in place. We weren't following our money. We weren't paying attention to the dollars that were going in and coming out, and we just thought we needed a few things. So when she got pregnant with our second child, Micah, we decided to go out and buy a car because we thought that was the smart thing to do. And we realized pretty quickly that we were definitely spending more money than we were bringing in. And I remember coming home one day after looking through the numbers, which was part of the problem, was we didn't communicate much at all.
Yes.
And I actually looked at her and I said, if we don't do something drastic in the next 2 weeks, we're not going to have any money to put food on the table.
or pay rent. And here I was, at that time he came home, I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh,
with
yeah,
our
that's
second.
nice.
Yeah, I know.
Well played.
It's worst timing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Panic a pregnant woman. What's wrong, man?
And so at that point, I was kind of in denial because I'm 8 months. I had this whole idea planned up, and I was in denial about, no, we're going to be fine. Like, we can make this work. We don't need to change things, because we were still not so much on the same page. And I said, okay, well, then what? It's like, I think we need to sell your car and go down to one car. And I was devastated.
Now, mind you, we had just bought this car about 3 months earlier.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So we were doing all the things wrong. And the biggest issue that we had was that we hadn't communicated up to this point about the money thing. We were making one big decision after the next and just getting ourselves further into the problem until we had to make a drastic change because we put ourselves in a drastic situation.
Yeah.
And when we decided that we needed to go ahead and do that, we decided to get really intense. And our story is really one of intensity because we had been Dave-ish for so long in our lives. We thought, if you can manage the payments, if you can manage the small things, then you're doing okay. You're getting ahead. You're making do. And that's not the way to live. You're constantly looking over your shoulder for a debt collector. And I remember we were shopping around to try and pay off some of this consumer debt. And I remember one of the credit card lenders who was potentially going to help us kind of try and consolidate or find a way to do that, told me, if you don't take my offer, then you're going to not be able to pay off this debt for like 5, 6, 7 years. You're going to be in this for quite a long time. And I told him, I think we can find a better way. And that's when we started to dig into the plan and really find out that there is a way to do this the right way.
And it was on your shelf all along.
Yeah, we dusted it off and decided, you know what, we should have done this from the beginning.
Traded it for a toaster oven. Look at you. Yeah,
I know. So we sold off that car, and we decided to make a few other changes in our life. We actually downsized and got out of our house. Moved in with her sister at that time to really condense.
So shortly after Micah was born, we moved in with my sister and cut all of our expenses by so much, and anything extra that we had, so that extra that we were using for just surviving, we put all of that towards the debt. Anything extra that came in.
You went hardcore, scorched earth, and did it in 7 months.
Yes.
$46,000.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
Move in with the sister, everything sold. You're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So if we were invited somewhere to a birthday party, we hadn't budgeted in a gift. We either went without a gift or we didn't go.
And the thing was, Dave, is we
go without a gift and eat free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anytime there was a free food, we were there. But when we started to look at the numbers, I didn't see a way forward to being debt-free for at least 3, 4, 5 years. With the income and the shovel that we had, we were underwater the entire time. And what's amazing is when we decided to get intense, there was supernatural provision that just showed up. And you know, we all just went through this Corona season, and there was extra income that was given around by the government, which was unexpected, but we had a plan in place, and we knew where we were going to put it. And we started to attack this thing, and as we got more intense, we found that there was more income coming into our hands, more resources coming into our hands, and we had a choice to make. Do we go and spend it on the car, or do we go spend it on nice clothes like some of my friends used to do, or do we go out and eat for a change because this is unexpected income, or do we put this towards our debt and really stick to our guns on this? And that's what we did, and that really allowed us to make a lot of headway. So
how does you working here come into this story?
So shortly into this process, we started to really look around and say, we need to find something else to be doing. I'm not really liking where I'm working. I wanted something to do with my life that was meaningful, that was on mission, that was passionate. And we had a recruiter that reached out to us from this place right around the time that we were about to become debt-free. And it was really, really interesting because I thought you had to be debt-free to work here. So I thought I thought I was going to disqualify myself if I hadn't had any debt. So we, through the interview process, were hustling hard to get to the finish line. Because I thought if we weren't going to, if we were going to come to the last few interviews, it was going to be like, so are you debt free or not? And I didn't want to get to that point.
That's fun.
We found money in the couch. I mean, I swear I found stuff in the cupboard.
Couch.
Yeah, we found it wherever we could. But we right before the half day and getting here, we actually made our last payment.
Oh man!
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember looking at her in the kitchen and actually telling her, hey, we're debt free. Like, we're completely debt free.
Oh man.
We don't have to worry about this no more. And
I'm so proud of y'all.
Yeah. So
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's people like you guys we want on the team. That's intense. And just to put the word out, you don't have to be debt-free to work here. Wow, that's intense. Very cool. And you brought a bunch to cheer you on. That's amazing.
We did.
Well done. Tyler and Ashley, Titus and Micah, $46,000 paid off with great intensity in 7 months. Count it down. Let's hear a debt-free scream.
All right, ready, guys? 3, 2, 1.
We're debt-free! Yeah!
Family tree change, just like that.
Good looking family.
Beautiful.
Honored to have them on our team. Rock stars, man. Very cool. This is The Ramsey Show. Our scripture of the day, Philippians 2:3-4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Les Brown said, in the end, it is the person you become, not the things you achieve, that is the most important. Agreed, my friend. Les Brown, if you haven't heard him, is an icon in the self-improvement space from a couple of decades back, and a wonderful speaker. You can look him up on YouTube and learn a lot about him. George Camel is my co-host today, Ramsey Personality, as we answer your questions about your life and your money. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Reed is in Pittsburgh. Hey, Reed, what's up?
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Better than I deserve. How can I help?
So I recently, about a year and a half ago, started working with a friend of mine back home, and we're trying to figure out why we just break even every year. We can't seem to make a profit no matter how much our sales go up in the business. It's just kind of boggling my mind a little bit.
What's your top line revenues, your gross revenue?
So right now, this year we're on track to do 300 in total sales, 300K. When I started, it was like 120 that he did on average every year. And even though the sales went up, we're breaking even. I don't get it.
Okay. So are you selling an item?
Yeah, item and services. It's an archery pro shop.
It's a what?
Archery pro shop. We sell bows and arrows.
Okay. All right. And so what is your margin?
So we make about 40% on the average of the store.
Okay, so you should have $120,000 gross profit then.
Well, we don't pay that much in payroll. The only thing...
No, stop. 300.
Okay. Yeah.
You said, right?
Yeah.
And you said a 40% gross margin. So that means your gross profit before expenses should be 120. After you pay for inventory, your cost of goods sold.
Yes, sir.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that does sound right.
Okay, and then what are your expenses other than cost of goods sold?
It's basically payroll. The building's been paid off. It's been a family business for 20-some years.
What's the payroll?
Right now, the owner took a couple years without pay, and I'm the only one being paid until we get it built up. It's like
there has to be some expenses coming out of the 120 if you're breaking even.
So the only thing, and he did a bunch of remodels and stuff, but last year we ended at zero. This year, after buying all the inventory and we're looking at all the numbers again, we're back at breaking even.
Okay, you got to go back. I heard that song before, same different verse. Go back to the numbers. 120,000. How much are you paid in salary?
After taxes and everything, it's like 35.
Yeah, but the business has to pay the taxes out of it, and they're paying you gross. What is your salary?
25.
No, not after taxes. It's 35. It's not 25.
Then my math might be wrong on the taxes. So my salary is 25, and
you take taxes out of that.
So
you're bringing home less than $20,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
I thought you said a while ago it was 35.
No, not the salary. So the business has to pay taxes on whatever it pays me as well.
Exactly.
So I was rounding up for that.
Okay, so the cost to the business of you is $35,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So that puts us at what? We said 140. So that puts us at 105. Where are you guys spending that 105,000?
He did a bunch of remodels last year. But that was even at the end of the year.
So you spent $105,000 on remodels?
No, that was, like I said, it was paid off last year. The only thing I could think of, we've done some advertising.
Okay, I now know why you're broke.
Okay.
Because you have no freaking idea what's going on inside this business.
Okay.
I've asked you 6 ways from Sunday where this money's going, and you can't seem to answer it. You're going in circles chasing your tail. Okay? So you guys need to sit down and explain to yourselves where your $140,000 gross profit is going. Some of it is going to Reed. Some of it is going to the remodel. But you have to put actual freaking numbers on that. And that 140 should be after all inventory restock is paid, unless you're ordering excess inventory more than you sold. Because the other $160,000, the 60% cost of goods sold, giving you a 40% gross margin, should give you inventory restock unless you're overstocking. So it sounds to me like you're overstocking and over remodeling, and owners taking no money out of the business. It's what it sounds like. But you guys need to know where your money is going. You're just spending it until it's gone and then wondering what happened. And so doing a budget is looking out the windshield.
Yeah, we just did a budgeting for business episode on Entree Leadership, Dave, and we talked about how your profit and loss statement is not a budget. That's just telling you what happened. But I think you need to start there, Reed. Look at the profit and loss statement. Start doing a budget with your friends. You guys need to be looking at these numbers every week and start really digging into this thing, because there's a lot more questions here than answers.
Yeah, you got to treat this like it's a crisis, because it is. You're not making any money, and he's not making any money, and you got $300,000 coming in the front door, and it's all going back out the back door. You're not making hardly any money, and he's not making any because he's spending it all on excess inventory and remodeling, it sounds like, but you don't know the numbers. And so the first step to making money is to do it on purpose. And profit does not just occur. You cannot sell enough to out-earn your stupidity. You have to. I've tried it. I tried it for years because I'm a good salesman. I know how to make money, but you have to have a game plan and go, okay, this is what we're going to spend, and we're not going to do any more remodeling until we take a profit out. Well, we got enough. I mean, the store we have made $300K. We don't need to upgrade that until we have extra money. And when the owner makes zero, there is no extra money.
No.
So owner takes money out. All the team members, including you, take money out. And after you're running a solid business plan called a budget, and you're going to budget. This is what we're going to make, and this is where it's going to go, and it's not going anywhere other than where we tell it to, but you're getting to the end of the year and wondering what happened instead of telling your money what to do up front. That's your problem. That's how you're not profitable. Tom's in Portland, Maine. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing well. How are you?
Better than I deserve. How can we help?
My wife and I are currently on baby steps 4, 5, and 6. We have 3 children and are quickly outgrowing our smaller home. We're looking for an upgrade for the quote-unquote dream home, but as you know, the real estate market is very hot at the moment. We have a rental property that brings in roughly $20K a year in profit and have about $300K in equity on that rental. So my question to you is, should we sell the rental, take the capital, and use it to purchase that dream home where it should get us into a 15-year at 25% of our take-home pay, or keep the rental and the cash flow and enter into a 30-year mortgage and attack the mortgage with the extra cash flow over time?
If I woke up in your shoes, as much as I love rental real estate, I would still sell it. And I might give you a third option. I might sell the rental while the market's hot and then wait a little bit. And let's sit on that cash, and let's let this market chill out a little bit, and then let that 300 work a little harder for you when you get ready to buy. Of course, that also means when you sell your current home, it's not going to sell as high, but so what? What you're doing is you're maxing out the price on the rental. You're not maxing out the price on your purchase, and you're not maxing out the price on your personal. Now, real estate may go on up a little bit while you wait, but it'll calm down, and the selection and the inventory on your upgrade is there. And I would suggest you change your language. I would not use the word dream home, and I would not use the words forever home, because no home is either. You're never there forever. It always changes, and it's not a dream home because your dreams change about the time you move in.
Yep. That's how it works.
So just get you a nicer home. It's an upgrade home. That's the only language you need. And you've earned that, and that's okay. That's how I would do it. Good job, George.
Thank you. It's been fun.
George Camel, Ramsey personality, my co-host today. Ben and Kelly in the booth. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. We'll be back with you before you know it. In the meantime, remember, there's ultimately only one way to financial peace, and that's to walk daily with the Prince of Peace, Christ Jesus.
This is James Childs, producer of The Ramsey Show. Did you know The Ramsey Show is one of the most popular podcasts in the world? Subscribe or follow today wherever you listen to podcasts.